When you look at the Chicago Bulls injury report, one thing is clear. The Chicago Bulls are embracing the tank at a level that I don't know if many of us thought they would go to this extent. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, the front office has one job this offseason, just one job, and that's make the losses that to end the season worth it. As the losses are going to keep stacking up, their one job is make it worth it with what you do in this offseason. Can you do that? We're going to talk about it all and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Eric Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content today, y'all, and let's just go over the Bulls injury report. Let's just start it off. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Let's go over the injury report. Of course, you have Noa Essengue, who's out for the season. He missed the majority of the season, didn't really play in any games this season, didn't even get to play really in G League games either. Jaden Ivey is out at least 2 weeks with knee soreness. He's about a couple of days into that 2-week return timeline. He's going to be gone for a while. Anfernee Simons is sidelined indefinitely with a fractured wrist, which I don't know what to tell y'all, but that feels like it's very much so probably the rest of the season Anfernee Simons is going to be out. Zach Collins is done for the rest of the season after surgery on his big toe. Then you have Jalen Smith that's down right now with a calf injury. We already know that can go a couple of weeks, multiple weeks actually. And then lastly, yesterday, Patrick Williams was listed as doubtful on the Chicago Bulls injury report for this game tonight against the Portland Trail Blazers. What does that mean? That means this one simple thing. The Chicago Bulls injury report is vast and it's ridiculous. And it's been that way really all season. You look at Kobe White and Zach Collins starting off the season injured. We lost Trey Jones for a little while there, lost Josh Giddey for multiple times in regards to that. Injuries have been a huge part of the story for this season for the Chicago Bulls. There's just no way around that. Now, I do think that the Bulls are getting a little bit creative in how they're sitting these people with these injuries. Like, again, Anfernee Simons, the fact that it's been announced as a fractured left wrist, he's probably going to be out for the rest of the year. I just, they said surgery wasn't off the table, so they're trying to avoid it. It's not something that he needs right now, but it's not off the table. He's probably going to be gone. Jaden Ivey, we'll see what they do with Jaden Ivey, how much he plays. Like, this is all just goes to show that when the Bulls decided to embrace a tank, oh Lord, did they embrace that tank? They did it for real. I'm not going to get to the point of them saying that they're necessarily faking injuries, but I will say this is that they're definitely in a spot now where if a player does get hurt, they are going to maximize on the amount of time that they leave that player out. That's why even with the calf strain for Jalen Smith, I expect him to be out a couple of weeks. I just expect him to be out a couple of weeks. With the way that we know about calf strains and the fear of how they lead to Achilles strains and things like tears and things like that, he's going to be out for a while. And then with Patrick Williams, Jalen Smith, they're down in this game as well, right? Isaac Okoro is going to have to play some power forward minutes in this game. Like that's what's going to have to happen. Of course, you got Matas Buzelis, Gershon Yabusele. You have Nick Richards as well as rotational pieces. Leonard Miller is not somebody that they seem like they believe very much in. I know a lot of Bulls fans do want to see them right now. So when it stands, the Chicago Bulls roster has not just been hit with injuries, it's been ravaged by injuries. It's been punched, raked over the coals, whatever you want to throw there. That's happened for the Chicago Bulls team. They've been punched in the face consistently by injuries. Now, we all know, even at this team right now with the balance on the roster, even if they were 100%, I don't think this Bulls team is going to win a lot of games, but it is what it is right now. As of right now, the Chicago Bulls are 1.5 games behind the 21-win Memphis Grizzlies and 2 games behind the Dallas Mavericks in the reverse standings to get the best players. That's just is right now. If the season ended right now, the Chicago Bulls have a 20% chance to move into the top 4 of the draft and a 4.5% chance to land the number 1 overall pick. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to land it. We've seen it over the last couple of years that the lottery, has not always gone to the teams with the best odds. As a matter of fact, I think we're 3 straight seasons now where the lottery, the teams with the best odds actually got pushed down the lottery, right? So, and that doesn't mean that that's going to continue. It's a lottery. It means that there's a chance, and the chances change each and every single lottery, right? But fact of the matter is that if the Bulls keep losing at the rate that they're losing and it does not shake, don't win tonight. We'll get into that. Don't win tonight against the Portland Trail Blazers. But they could realistically, the highest that I think the Chicago Bulls can get is that they can probably get up to 7 as far as the 7th best odds in the lottery. I think that there's a chance they can get up to that. Now, that would be determined by a few different things, right? A, how injured the Chicago Bulls are going to be the rest of the way. The Memphis Grizzlies, Dallas Mavericks, Mavericks have won 2 games in a row. The Memphis Grizzlies have lost 3 games in a row. How committed are they going to be? But I don't think there's any way that the Bulls catch up to the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz just shut down Lauri Markkanen. They keep shutting down players. They're even better. They're seasoned. They've been at this a lot longer than the Chicago Bulls. They're seasoned in this tank game. They know exactly what they need to do. New Orleans Pelicans pick, I don't think you're going to catch up with that either. They're 17-14. That pick's going to Atlanta, though, right? So Atlanta's going to have that. I don't think the Bulls can get into the top 5 of the odds. I don't even think they can catch the top 6. Really, the Bulls, if they can get up to 7th, they basically have tanked the most that they could possibly tank. Now, we'll see. Statistically, number-wise, they're not out of the range of any of that. I want to be clear. They're not out the range of any of that number-wise. Technically, they're only 11 games back of the Sacramento Kings for the worst record in the NBA, depending on how you look at how the Bulls are going to win these games or how many games they're going to win the rest of the way. Like my boy Pat he has them winning 2 games the rest of the way, right? So maybe they can, but I don't think that that's necessarily goal. It's about optimizing their chance at a lottery this season, and that's really what this is about. And we'll see if they can get it done. So right now the Chicago Bulls have a 20.3% chance. Now, if the Bulls can get to the 8th or 7th seed, that chance goes up to 29 and 29.4% at a top 4 pick if they can get up to that, and a 6.8 and 6.7% chance at the number 1 overall pick if they can get up to that with their tank, and we'll see. That's why I think that's a solid enough mark for them. I don't see the Bulls winning a lot of games the rest of the way. I'm just going to be honest with you. What I said, maybe 5 games after the All-Star break is what they'll end up winning. Right now we've won 0, so none. 0 on that one. But we got this game against Portland today. Portland's a tough, scrappy team, and they are trying to get into the playoffs. That's what Portland is trying to do, and the Bulls also benefit from Portland winning. So I hope that they, this is where the tank gets caught up at, right? Then we got Milwaukee. I don't have the Bulls winning another game until Sacramento March 8th. So that means that's 4 more losses that I have for the Chicago Bulls, and that's a 14-game losing streak, right? And then even after the Sacramento game, maybe the next game, maybe they can win that Golden State game. I don't know. That also would help Portland, so I wouldn't be mad if they win that Golden State game. It helps Portland leapfrog them to the 8th seed. So, I'm not necessarily mad at that, but though strategic. That's what you need to be in this one for the rest of the way. It's very, very strategic, very comfortable is what you need to do here. And so we'll see if the Bulls can get it done, yo. I mean, I'm at the point now where you guys have seen me on the post-game shows, you see me on the pre-game shows. Like, it's not about wins and losses at this point. As much as it's hard for me to root for my team to lose, I understand what needs to happen here, right? And I understand why the Bulls are doing what they're doing. It's just you would never see me. I would just never verbally say, yeah, let's go out here and lose. It's just too much of a competitive nature for me to say that, right? But at the same, and that's just me personally. That's me personally. Like, that's my own personal thing. But I still acknowledge what the Bulls are trying to do. I'm not somebody that denounces or denies the fact that the Bulls aren't really focused on winning the rest of this way of the season. I just don't do that. It's hard for me to get out here and say, yeah, let's go out here, let's lose these games, right? I can't do that. Maybe it's too much I'm too competitive when it comes down to it. But we'll see what the Bulls can do with it. But that gets me to my next topic, right? That this all just better be worth it. That's really the thing here, right? Like, losing sucks, and even the people who have wanted to tank. And the reason why I said that, like, people who wanted to tank, like, now those people are doubting Modest and Josh Giddey because we're not. It's so weird to me, right? People were like, I don't want us to win games. The Bulls didn't clearly make a decision to not win games. And then the people who was like, I don't want to win games. We should be tanking and we need to get Darren Peterson. And then say, maybe that Modest isn't that good because we're losing. Why aren't we winning if he's that good? You just, motherfucker. So, like, that's just my thought process in it. Like, and that's why I say it's hard for me to root for losing, right? Like, because I want to see these players grow. I want to see them develop. But it's up to the front office to make this all worth it. Make this all worth it. Now, we can disagree on how long this tank is going to go. I've said it before. I don't feel like the Chicago Bulls, this isn't going to be a multi-year tank. The Bulls are not going to be tanking again next season. I believe they're going to be, if their plan goes, right, if they get what they are trying to get out of this offseason, they're going to be right back competitive next year. They're going to be right back gunning for the play-in or hoping that they're going to gun for the playoffs as early as next season. And I just believe that, right? So, and I'm not saying that the Bulls are going to be back into relevancy in one season. That's not what I'm saying, but I will say that this is a team that I do think is going to be way more competitive next year, and we're going to be seeing them try to develop and seeing how the pieces of the new first-round pick with Modest and Noah and Josh Giddey and those players fare with the kind of the younger vets, right? And as far as Jalen Smith and Trey Jones and having guys like that on this team, I do think the Bulls are going to try to make at least one key free agent signing, whether that's stealing away a restricted free agent or not. All those things the Bulls are going to try to do this offseason. One thing, too, that I will say that I've noticed from a lot of Bulls fans, and this isn't to come out at anybody directly, but a lot of Bulls fans don't understand how restricted free agency works, right? They think just because you have, the team has the right to match, that they're going to match that's not the way that it works. Now, restricted free agency was a lot different last season because everybody was preparing for the free agent class and the draft class next year, and they were kind of playing more hardball with their free agents. But, a lot of people look at restricted free agent, and I was surprised with this and just think, they're just going to match it. And it's like, yeah, it's not that simple, especially now that we live in the first apron and second tax apron space, is that a lot of these teams are not trying to go into the first tax apron. And a lot of the restricted free agents that are on the board as well are on teams that don't want to go very high into the luxury tax. Peyton Watson, the Denver Nuggets are almost in a way, right? I'll say this, almost cheaper than the Bulls. And what I mean by that is that they had a championship team. Not just in theory, they had a team that won the championship and then looked at that and said, we can't afford to keep all these people. They have another team that, when fully healthy, is a championship caliber team, and they are looking at this saying, we're going to have to let two of these big contracts go because we can't go into the luxury tax. And so there's that part. Like the Bulls, if they won a title, I fully believe Jerry would be like, hey, listen, the title revenue, yeah, keep that team together. And if it's just a little bit into the luxury tax, like the Denver Nuggets are in a way where it's just like, I don't care how good we are. Get that money down, my boy. And so, you have that. The Utah Jazz, people just think that the Jazz are just going to automatically match anything with Walker Kessler. They've been very clear in the fact that $25 million is the number there. Very clear on that. And if it really goes that far, now I do think that there's some wiggle room that they'll go a little bit over it. But if a team puts out a bigger offer sheet out there on Walker Kessler, they'll just pivot to one of the other centers that are out there available. So, I get it. And restricted free agency is risky. It's not of course, as straightforward if you're trying to sign just an unrestricted free agent. But I think people have this bad notion that, unrestricted or restricted free agents, this means the team is just going to match. And that's not necessarily true either, right? But to get back on our front office, what they have to do in this season, in this offseason, is make it worth it. Meaning, get the right guy at the draft pick. Now, we may not know that it's worth it until the season starts, right? Because if we don't get a top 4 pick, I can already tell you there's going to be a large portion of the Bulls community that's going to say, oh my God, we did all that. We didn't get into the top 4. None of these guys are going to be as good. We failed again. And they're going to say all that. But listen, by the end of the season, you may look at that and be like, damn, hey, this motherfucker good, bro. This motherfucker is good. Like you may seriously look at that. Like, so it's up to the Bulls to get that part, right? To get the draft right. That is the thing that I've been on for this team even before the tank, right? I said that back before the Modest draft. These next 3 first-round picks, you have to get right. You have wasted too much draft capital on players that are no longer here now, right? And that's just the reality of it. No offense to those players, but Dalen Terry did not work out here. If he worked out, he'd still be here. Patrick Williams did not work out. He's still here, though, because of the contract we gave him, but he did not work out as a top 4 pick. You have to get these draft picks right. It doesn't mean that they all have to turn into stars, but they do have to turn into starting caliber NBA players. And also for the Bulls fans that say things like, none of these restricted free, you don't know what needle moving is. Like, I get it in the sense that you look at one star that can drastically move a needle, but you don't, like, not everybody has to move the needle 5 steps to be able to move the needle and help your team based off if you construct the team properly, right? But again, we'll go into that. Maybe I'll do a live call in where we can actually have a back and forth, because I don't feel like it's fair to other people that their comment is left in a stagnation point and I respond to it in a stagnation point. And I'm on this podcast. I do a show every single day. I get to get my opinions and thoughts out every single day. It's not right to respond on a podcast. Now I can do it in the comment section. There's somebody whose comment is just stagnant, right? Like, and maybe their thought process has changed, or maybe they need to explain themselves a little bit better, right? So I think overall, though, it's this front office just has to make this all worth it. Draft the right players. Get the right pieces in here. If you believe that you're going to be able to make a swing in restricted free agency on a guy that can come in here and help you, make that swing, get risky, right? And that's the aspect of this that I do miss when John Paxson was the GM. Now, Gar and Pax, they fell off a cliff because Gar Forman was a Muppet. But when John Paxson was the GM, when he drafted Derrick Rose, when he was drafting Luol Deng and Ben Gordon, like, you started seeing how those pieces were going to fit together. You started seeing those players develop and grow here, right? We still have an affinity for a lot of those players because they did turn out and developed and grew here in Chicago. That is what we need next in this team. That is what this next phase has to be about for the Chicago Bulls. Get these draft picks right. And then let's start looking at these pieces that you have together and start going to war with these pieces and start seeing them fit together. Get the draft right. And then when you go into free agency, get the balance right. You had an off-balance roster last time. There's just no way around that. Now, luckily, they started finding ways to fit. But, like, now you've cleared the slate. You've cleared the deck. Now start building something that fits together. Start doing that. AK built a decent team before with Lonzo, DeMar, Alex Caruso, bringing in Nikola Vucevic. That was a team that was really good. It's really, really good when they were healthy. And then when Lonzo Ball went down, they were still not terrible, but the expectations, that team was built so much to fit together that when you took out one of those major key cogs, we just never really rebounded from that, right? So AK has shown that he can build a decent team before. And now you got to go out here and you have to cook this offseason. And that's what it all just comes down to. Everything about this comes down to that one simple thing. You have to make these losses worth it. And we look back on this and we're still looking here saying, well, shit, we ain't got nothing. Don't miss on the draft pick in this round. In this draft. You miss on the draft pick in this draft, you are done. Right? And I've said that. This draft could be the beginning of the end for Arturas Karnisovas, meaning that this is the last 2 to 3 years that Arturas really has. And unfortunately, I do think Arturas is going to rock this out with Billy Donovan still being the coach here. And I think that may be one of his biggest things that end up being his downfall. Billy Donovan cannot develop. And let me not say cannot. Absolutely. I do think you can look at some marks of Billy Donovan developing some players. Lou Dort started to develop under him. Io definitely developed under him. Kobe White turned into a more complete player under Billy Donovan. So we've seen a little bit of that, right? But this is not a guy that, now that your focus is developing, that I want to see develop these guys. But then again, this front office and their ties to Billy Donovan could ultimately also be their undoing in the long run. And, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen there. So overall, I'll say this. Like I said, it's the front office's job is to make these losses worth it. 10 straight games are losing, and the losing streak is not stopping anytime soon. We're going to have a lottery pick, which is really good. How high is left up to be determined. We could possibly have the Portland pick. Let's help them with that a little bit today. And then we have tons of cap space and tons of flexibility, but that all means nothing if you do nothing with it. So now you got to go out here and you got to cook. You got to show us what you can do with it and give us something that actually means something. And that's all I can say, and that's what I'll leave that on. Now, the Bulls do have a game tonight against the Portland Trail Blazers. This game starts at 8 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Chicago time. And listen, I'm not going to have, like you guys know, ever since the All-Star break, I'm not having these intensive-ass breakdowns on schematics and things like that. I'm not doing that anymore because none of that matters anymore this season. But you know what does matter in this game? That the Portland Trail Blazers need to win this game. The Portland Trail Blazers have to win this game because the Portland Trail Blazers are 3 games back of the 8 seed. And we need for them to get to that 8 seed. Why? Again, Hayes, do you ask that? Because if they get to the 8 seed in the play-in tournament, they have 2 opportunities to get 1 win. They get 2 opportunities to get 1 win. So we need to be rooting for the Portland Trail Blazers to get this win tonight against the Chicago Bulls. And again, like I said, this leaves me in a very conflicted place because I don't like rooting for my team to lose. My natural inclination is to be like, hey, this is what we can do to attack this Portland Trail Blazers team. But I'm not going to do that. Simply put, the Bulls are better off in what their goals are the rest of the way, losing to the Portland Trail Blazers today. So they're coming in town to the United Center, a Bulls team that is ravaged by injuries from top to bottom. We got injuries all over the place, and even some of the players that we got back. Josh Giddey's still not 100%. You see that out there, right? We're going to be rocking an extremely small lineup now with Jalen Smith being doubtful, and if Patrick Williams also does not play, that's going to be a thing there. The Portland Trail Blazers right now are the 9th seed in that, and they'll get to at least host round 1 of the play-in because they are a 9th seed. They'd host the 10th seed. But when it comes down to it, we need this Portland Trail Blazers to continue to win because, again, even the Los Angeles Clippers, they're right there on their heels, right? So, that's the thing. I've been talking so much about what the Portland Trail Blazers need to do to move up and the team that's ahead of them. Let's talk about the team that's below them, right? The Clippers are tied for them as far as games back, win percentage, basically. And so not only do the Portland Trail Blazers have to win enough to keep the Los Angeles Clippers off their neck, They have to start winning enough as well, which are 5-5 in their last 10, to get to catch up to the Golden State Warriors and hopefully get that 8 seed. That's how things are going to come down in this one. And so we'll see. The Bulls need to come into this one. I still want to see development. I'm still going to be looking at what Modest Buzelis does, how he follows up his career high night. Rob Dillingham, what does Rob Dillingham do today? He's going to have a lot of opportunity as well, and we're going to see that part of it. And we're going to just get to see how this team really reacts and can handle some shit. And let's see if they can get it done. And that's just the reality of, like, come out here, try to develop. I want to see Rob Dillingham play good. I want to continue to see how Josh Giddey and Modest play off each other, those type of things. But really, when it comes down to it, the X's and O's part isn't as important the rest of the way of the season. And that's just the reality of it. So, but that's going to do it. At the end of the day, Bulls Nation, losing is one thing, but losing with no direction, that's something completely else. If this tank doesn't land a franchise-level piece, or at least a star starter, or the cap space isn't used correctly this offseason, what was all this really for? Ask yourself that. Drop your thoughts down below in the comment section. Are the Bulls strategically taken, or are they just mismanaged, or a mixture of both? Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. You can follow us at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.